One thing that's happened for me a lot this year at the university and in conversations with lots of different people, and I'm sure this has been a concern for people for a long time, but I feel like this year in particular, I've heard a lot of people saying things to me like, I just don't feel like I'm enough. Right? That I don't feel like I'm enough. And I can see, like, even as I mentioned that, there's some of you that are like, yeah, I know that space. The feeling of not feeling like you're enough. And so I guess what I'd like to say about that is that if you're someone who's struggled with that sense or that question, am I enough? And you're struggling with it, you're not struggling because you're not enough. You're struggling because it's a bogus question. It's a ridiculous question. I mean, it really is, if you think about it, because it doesn't actually matter how much we accomplish, how many people like us, how attractive we are, how much we know, how much respect we have, how many books whatever it is, it doesn't matter. At no point will the sky crack open, right? And the mystical being appear and say, congratulations, you are now enough. It never happens. It just doesn't. It never happens. And the more we indulge that sort of thinking, the more likely we are to continue to do that, right? To live like we're chasing being enough. And the problem with that, we were talking about this earlier, is that when we do that, we're spending a lot of time sculpting something that isn't real. We're playing around with the narrative we have of ourselves, the idea we have of ourselves. Am I good enough? Am I attractive enough? Am I this? And it never ends. So I would encourage you, when that question comes up, and you think, am I enough? Am I this enough? Am I that enough? To see if it's possible just to begin to just notice that, hey, that question showed up. Of course, I would recommend maybe stopping and pausing and trying to have some compassion for the version of you that learned to ask that question. Because there are lots of reasons we find ourselves in that place. There are a lot of sort of causes and conditions that teach us to ask if we're enough, or if we own enough, if we've accomplished enough, right? Lots of causes and conditions that maybe are operating in the service of something other than our well-being. So if we can just have some compassion for that version of us that learned to ask that question and to feel insecure about that, and then recenter not on am I enough, but what matters to me? What's important to me? What do I really care about? What impact do I want to have on the world? What impact do I want my presence to have on the people that I'm engaging with? And then think, okay, so what do I do with that? What can I do today to embody that quality, that virtue in my life? And when we do that, we shape our minds in such a way that those qualities become more and more solidified, more and more a part of our personality, more and more a part of kind of how we go about our day. And I think when we do that, we find that we're more than enough. Yeah. So don't ask yourself bogus questions. Don't spend too much time on them. Right? It's not helpful. So thanks.